You hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, bet. So we're just gonna hop into it. Episode 1. I have no idea what I'm actually gonna call the podcast either. So we're gonna just figure out as we go along, you know. So episode 1, first guest, Breauna Browning, Four Houses Realty. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Had a couple, you know, it was an exciting day. I will tell the part I will tell about it is that I did rip my pants today. That's why I'm in the sweats. I won't go into detail about anything else. What about you? You're coming off some showings, aren't you?
Yeah, I had 2 showings today for some rental clients. I had a good day as well. I got an accepted offer. Offer today.
Okay, congrats.
Thank you. I also obtained a new buyer with the buyer's consultation. And then also, what else did I do? Well, I got my nails done. So that was my other exciting part of the day. So I'm doing good.
Perfect. And then you've been an agent for like a while now. You've been in the real estate like industry as a whole for a while now, right?
Mm-hmm. So I've been an agent for 11 months. I got my license in April of 2022. So I'm almost at a year. So good for me. But April 2022, and then as a whole, I've been in the mortgage industry for 2 years prior to that. So I started in about 2020. I was working at Rocket Mortgage as a processor.
So what made you? So I guess we'll like take it back there for a second. So what made you decide to hop into that? Just like.
So honestly, I wanted to become a real estate agent because I was really trying to go to college. So I was really just trying to secure any type of income I can to make sure that I put myself through college. Originally, I wanted to be a model and own a modeling agency. So that's what I wanted to go into school for, to be like a businesswoman. So I was just trying to think of anything that can get me some fast money, because I was Googling, like, what can I make really quick so that way I can, well, I didn't say so I can go to school. I just said what makes you money really fast.
Right.
And that was like one of the top 5 things is like becoming a real estate agent. So that was like my thing that I was trying to do. But then once I started looking into it and I started watching like real estate reality TV shows, I pretty much was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I'm still, going to finish school, but I was like, yeah, I don't need this for school. I can actually do this and be successful at it. So that's how I kind of switched over from trying to do that into going into real estate.
Okay. So then I guess too, like, did you come across that like while you're at Rocket, like figuring out that you wanted to be like a realtor, or did you kind of like already know?
I think Rocket kind of made me more serious about it because I was actually still at my job prior to Rocket Mortgage. I was working at a gym, Franklin Athletic Club in Southfield.
Okay.
So I was working there, and that's when I kind of had the idea because, they weren't really paying too much for me to go to school. So that's when I thought about it. And Rocket kind of pushed me into doing it because I could actually see, like the benefits of being in that industry. So that kind of made me serious. It was very hard for me at first because I was doing like, I don't know if you wanted me to go into how I
go into it.
But yeah, like I was trying then, but I did like online real estate school with Real Estate U or realestateu.tv. It was something like that, but it was an online real estate school. It was at your own pace. And that's what I was saying. Like, I really didn't take it that serious because I don't even think that I really read anything like that at the time when I was doing that. So it took me longer than what I thought it was going to take me to finish that class. And every time I went to go take the test, I was failing. And then also COVID hit, so they weren't even accepting us to even come in and take the real estate test, the state test, because I passed the class, but it took me a long time to do that because it was at your own pace. But then when I actually took the test, I was failing like multiple times to the point where I was like, if I don't pass, I'm about to just become a mortgage banker. Like, I'm already over here at Rocket Mortgage. Like, that's what I'm about to do. But then, like, I had somebody come into my life that kind of pushed me into just kind of inspired me a little bit at that time. And that also helped me to take it more serious because I was very discouraged. And I retook the class, and I was, like, studying day in and day out. Like, soon as I was off at Rocket Mortgage at 5:30, I took, like, a 30-minute break. And at 6:30, I was studying until I literally read a chapter every day, wrote down all the key points, and once I finished that, I was like, I'm about to schedule this test 2 days because I could still go take the test whenever I wanted. That was like a refresher for me. So I went to what is the real estate one when I did that.
Okay.
And once I finished that class, I was like, okay, I'm just about to schedule this test in 2 days. I was cracking little jokes to my friends, like, I'm telling you, if I don't pass this test, like, it's over. And then I went and I passed it, and my mouth literally dropped because I couldn't believe it. So that's how I finally got into it.
Did you cry or?
Did I cry? I think I did cry in the car, but in the actual like testing room, my mouth just was like. So.
Did you find out like immediately that you passed?
Yeah, you find out immediately. Like, so when I was failing, it was really like fail as soon as I got done. But when I passed, it said pass. But I was super shocked and overwhelmed, and I just felt like my life was going to change.
Mm-hmm. And then, so when you like fail and you go to like retake it, do you have to take like X amount of days before you can take it again? Because like for the mortgage test, like luckily I passed it on the first try.
Oh, he tried to black her.
But I do know if I didn't pass it, I wouldn't be able to take it for like another 3 months.
No, it wasn't a time limit on it at all. You can go anytime, but I mean, you had to pay for it. So if you had the money, I mean, it wasn't too crazy. Like, it was like $80, I think, to actually, no, how much? I don't know. I think it was $80 to actually pay to go take the state test. So, I mean, it's really like if you wanted to just keep paying the money. So that was what it was.
So at your just own discretion. I mean, like you said, it's like it's your money. So
yeah, if you had the money and you can go in a couple weeks, I say like if you failed and you were like 2 points off, like, yeah, go take that test again in 2 days. But if you failed like drastically, yeah, you should wait at least. I don't even want to say a month because the information like literally goes out of your brain so quick after taking that class that I wouldn't even suggest that. You just got to study, honestly.
Right. And then how much of it do you think is like actually like applicable to like your day to day, to like what you actually do on the field?
That's a good question. I think it's like different strokes for different folks. Yeah, like for example, I think contracts for sure you use that daily. I think, and that was actually the hardest portion of the test. Like, it has the most questions. That was actually the reason why I kept failing. But I know how to write contracts now, y'all. But I would say contracts, agency disclosures, FHA. Well, not FHA. I'm sorry. The guidelines for fair housing. That's what I wanted to say. So fair housing guidelines. I feel like it's also important to know like the different types of loans and the different programs like Fannie and Freddie and things like that. So I think that those are the things that you use as a realtor on a daily. Anything else as far as like financing, there's some, I mean, honestly, we don't do the financing part. That's all the mortgage lender, but I guess it's good to know.
Yeah.
He happy. But yeah, I think that's good to know as a realtor because you don't want to be like naive when somebody asks you a question because they're going to ask you a question about, oh, what does this mean on my closing disclosure? And it's good to know, even if you don't know everything, like just to know some type of information. So I would say that those are the things, but typically like financing and all the calculations is either someone there to do it for you, and everything else is just like rules and regulations. I mean, state laws also are something that you use daily. So that's something you want to be careful with.
Okay, cool. And then, so transitioning out of like passing the test, congrats to you.
Thank you. Congrats to you passing your mortgage test.
Thank you. First time.
Okay.
So after that, like you have to, what are kind of the steps do you have to, cause like I know for us, I had to like get like my fingerprint scanned, stuff like that. Is that similar?
No, it's really like a straight shot. Like once you pass your test with whoever you go to school with, you'll get your certificate, and then you pay for your license, and then you pay for, going to take the test. Once you do that and you pass the state test, it's just more so go find you a brokerage that you love and that you feel comfortable with, and that's when you can actually sign up and say this is who my license is going with. You can't operate without a broker.
Okay. So how'd you go about like picking your first? Where'd you start off at?
Okay. So I started off at Providence Properties. I started off with Providence Properties. The way I went about picking that brokerage is I felt really comfortable with her at that time. She was, she said like a lot of things that I was looking for. Like I didn't want somebody to look at me as a dollar sign. Like she was saying that, she was God fearing. And that's something that I want. Like I don't want you to just be throwing me to the wolves now, but I want somebody that actually does pray and things like that. I want good spirits around me. So that was like one of the things that clung to me for her versus everybody else that I interviewed.
Where else did you interview at?
For my first time, I interviewed at 3DX, and then I interviewed at, what was the other one? There was another, I don't remember. I think it was EXP, maybe. Mm-hmm. Or it was like, I think that EXP has like different brokers under them. So somebody with EXP. But she kind of like stood out to me more. She more so sold herself on how she was going to build me as a realtor. And I will say that she did. She helped me with a lot of the lingo that I have now. She helps me with a lot of the lingo I have now. Okay. And I do give her props. But then I did switch over to Four Houses Realty, which I think is more of my speed.
Okay. And then, so I was going to say, like, in Michigan, at least, there's, like, tons of, like, Keller Williams or, like, Max Brook, all those type of shops. Did you just, like, not really consider those, or?
I did, but I didn't. Because one thing I did when I was trying the first time around, before I actually even passed my test, I already had, interviewed with Keller Williams, and it was really nice. There's nothing wrong with them at all, but I felt like I wanted somebody that could see me. Like, I feel like if you have a bunch of agents, 60-plus agents, then you might not be paying attention to little me, and I needed that. Like, I love to be hands-on. I want a relationship with whoever I'm working with. I want to feel comfortable with you. So that was kind of why it wasn't anything against them, but I wanted somebody that can be hands-on with me. So when I did my second go-around of switching brokerages, I interviewed, I forgot what one of them was named, but she was really nice. And then I also interviewed with Century 21, and then I interviewed with Four Houses. I would say out of all of them, my broker now, Charles, he's the only one that reached out to me after I met with him. And even it was hard for me to leave out of my first brokerage. He actually was like, okay, well, because we had like a clause in that brokerage that basically said we had to leave or we had to let the broker know at a certain amount of time that we had to leave. And I really wanted to switch at that time. I really wanted to go with Charles. And he was like, well, if that's what's in the contract, I am willing to basically mold you into the type of realtor you want to be at while you're still working with her, if that's okay with her. So it was even a consideracy there for what I was going through. And I need somebody to be personable with me. Like, I know everybody be like, oh, it's a job, but I feel like we're all human. I don't want to go somewhere where I can't be vulnerable or I can't express my feelings. So that's why I chose Charles to be my broker, because I felt like he was the only one to reach back out to me. He was also the only one to cater my feelings. Even when I was calling him, like, I don't know what to do to, work with you. He was like, we'll figure it out. So he was very personable on that level. So that's why I chose my brokerage now. And I would say it's more of a family. I feel like everybody there is supportive. I don't know everybody too well, but I feel like I hear good things about everyone at my brokerage. So it's more of a family feel for me and more comfortability.
Okay, cool. Shout out to Charles.
Yep.
So being at Four Houses now, where's you guys' office at?
Birmingham, Michigan.
Okay. Living it up. Birmingham, one of the nicer areas in Michigan, definitely. If you guys aren't from Michigan, definitely one of the places to be, I would say. Mm-hmm. So how big is your team?
It's about 10 agents.
10 agents, okay. Mm-hmm. So I can see it, like, what you mean by, everyone being
I feel like I can be seen. Like, yeah. I can call my broker right now. He just got his license in California. I can call him right now and be like, I'm struggling, and he'll answer the phone. So That's what I need.
Does he like fly in between both, or?
Well, he just got there,
Okay.
so he's flying in between now.
Okay, exciting.
Yeah.
So, 11 months in, how have, how are the deals that you've done gone? I know that, like, going from, like, test to, like, actually doing it, like, two separate things, like, especially, like, on my end when I passed my test compared to, like, when I did, like, my first pre-approval, ran through my first application, first consultation, stuff like that. It was, scrambling, trying to just figure it out, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you kind of, like, had similar experience with, or?
Luckily at the time when I did start, I did have a friend that was in real estate. She was kind of like the support there. She was kind of like the support there for me. So she was the one who was like, "Oh yeah, throw yourself out there." So it wasn't really a scramble for me because I had somebody that was really close to me at that time that I could text and be like, "What does this mean?" Or I could text my broker at that time and say, "What does this mean?" So I wasn't really scrambling, but I was super nervous. Like, I didn't go to my first showing by myself. I didn't go to my first showing by myself. One of my friends, she went with me. What else? I think that was pretty much it. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, what you see on TV where they be like, "Oh, this is this type of house." Like, I didn't know what to say. So I kind of had to come with my own lingo because I didn't know how to. I never been in sales before. So I was like, I didn't know how to sell this house like they do on TV. So
Right. Like selling sunsets.
Yeah. I like selling Tap It better. But yeah, I didn't know how to sell the house. So I kind of had to come with my own lingo. I didn't go with the friend that was in real estate to my first showing, but I went with one of my other friends. But I wanted her to come with me so she can kind of show me a little bit, but she wasn't able to. So I kind of was like, okay, I just printed out the listing ticket and I was like, okay, the house is blah, 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 X whatever square feet. And then, like, on a listing ticket, it'll show, like, what type of countertops it is. So I'm like, okay, this is granite countertops. I didn't even know the difference between granite or floorings and things like that. Like, I was like, the flooring is ceramic. So I kind of had to look at the paper to show me. But now that I'm in it, I still use my paper to give to my clients to give them information, but I don't need it anymore.
Okay, shout out to you.
I learned.
No, that's what's up. So, kind of like the things on the paper, what do you think, like for your buyers, for example, what are they the most interested in? Because I've seen the listing tickets when I'm like dropping on open houses. It's a lot of numbers, information, stuff on it. What do you think they're like really looking for?
I think they're looking for square footage. I will say I don't think that they're looking for this necessarily, but I do think that, square footage for sure that they're looking for, but I don't think that they're looking for this necessarily as far as like the dimensions of the bedrooms and living rooms. Like, it'll be like, 12 by 8 or whatever. So I think that that's beneficial to them. That's good for the paper if they're looking to buy like new furniture or looking to measure their furniture. But I think more so on the paper that they're looking at is square footage. And then also they're looking at the purchase price. And then also they're looking at, I had one more in my head, but I just forgot that fast. I know taxes. That's what they're looking for. So I think that those are the main things that they're looking for on that paper.
Okay. I think the taxes are like actually important because even from like a finance, like, mortgage side of things, I feel like that's one of the things people don't consider when they're thinking of payment. They're normally thinking of like principal, interest rate, but taxes and insurance for that matter are a part of it. And depending on what you qualify for, it could change depending on like the house and what the taxes are. Like I had a borrower, they're interested in a house, and we had to kind of do like a lot of like working around to make the numbers work because the taxes were like $9,200 for the year. So obviously that's a huge jump for like monthly payment,
Yeah, I will say I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know that, taxes played a part in the debt to income either until one of my previous buyers, and they were like the lender for that contract. They basically was like, "Oh, we got to make sure that the taxes didn't go up." And I'm like, what do that got to do with anything? I'm like, we looking at the numbers, baby. We not
Right,
looking
right.
at the taxes.
No,
So,
definitely.
so I didn't know that. So that's actually a good fact to know that we should consider the taxes. Now I have like, well, I had it since I've been at my new brokerage, but now we have like an app where for our title company where it actually calculates the taxes for you for an estimate. So I try to send those out too.
For like every like specific house.
Yep, you can put the address in.
Okay. No, that's cool. Because yeah, I might have to get with you for that because I was gonna say
Sure.
I like I look them up. Like I'm pretty good about finding the numbers, but that's also why I tell like my clients and stuff like that. It's hey, if you're interested in this house, like send me the address so I can run the numbers and stuff like that because like the DTI is tight and then the taxes are like insanely expensive. You know, that can drive it up. Or if it's if it's been vacant for a while, it's not a homestead, so taxes are like even higher.
Oh, if it's been vacant, the taxes will go up?
Yeah, because there's like a homestead exemption, like a lot of houses have, where like taxes are cheaper. But if it's been vacant for a while, it's not like a homestead technically, so it can like shoot up. I was looking at a house.
Because I know homestead like that will make the taxes go lower, but I didn't know if it was vacant for so long that it can go higher.
Yeah, you don't really get that exemption anymore. Like I was looking at one of my clients, she was trying to place an offer on a house. It was like 150 or price point, but the taxes in that area are like already like higher, but it didn't have the homestead exemption, so the taxes were like $3,200 a month, and it was like a $150 house. So it's
Where was that at in Macomb?
It was
County?
It was out by like East Lansing, like that type of area.
Oh, okay.
So like a little ways away from here, but like you see stuff like that and like not necessarily a homestead, but like high taxes in like Lathrop Village, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a little tangent about that. So being like 11 months in as well, it's been it's a difficult time like for like everything, like not even just real estate, kind of just like everything going on in the world. Did you still see like, so I'm trying to like think back to like 11 months ago, like I definitely think we were still like rates weren't like what they are now. They still weren't there quite yet, but like were you still seeing like people waiving inspection, like going in and crazy like over asking, stuff like that?
For sure. When I came into real estate, so I had the best of both worlds because I was still working at Rocket when I got my real estate license until they kicked me out, y'all. But I was still working at Rocket at the time, so I had the real estate side, and then I also had the mortgage side. So I was on the real estate side. I was seeing like I came in where people were coming in 20,000 over asking, paying the difference if the appraisal didn't come back. And then on the mortgage side, I was seeing not so many people trying to do mortgages because we were just leaving out of COVID and interest rates were like 2.99, and now they were starting to see the 5s and the 6s again. And everybody was like, oh, no, that's high, but it's pretty normal. So that was where I came in.
Okay. No, that's because I was going to say, I got in similar time to you, unfortunately, after the refi boom. So things were starting to, like, trickle up, like, every month. I think, yeah, like you said, like 3s, 5s, 6s, 7s. They got a little bit better, but now we're back, like, high 6s, 7s, around there, unfortunately. And then kind of with that, like what do you kind of like see with your clients? Like, are they like what do you kind of like seeing in the market?
Right now,
I guess you're right now, yeah, or like leading up to, or like how are things changing like up until now?
I would say like the last few months, homes were staying on the market for over 30 days. A lot of people think that 30 days is not a long time, but it definitely is. Like, well, from what I seen, when I first got my real estate license, those houses were off the market within a week, and I thought that was crazy. I'm like, oh, okay, so this how the market is. So I learned the hard way too. It was one client I had, and she lived far from me, and I came home, did the offer. Next day, and I submitted it. As soon as I submitted it, they was like, oh, we just accepted the offer an hour ago. So that's how crazy it was. But now I'm seeing now is houses are staying on the market over 30 days, which is a long time on a real estate market. A lot of people are asking for seller concessions, which is a benefit for buyers. They can use that money to buy down interest rates or go towards their closing costs and things like that. That's pretty much what I'm seeing is like seller concessions. Houses are staying on the market a long time, and then also interest rates are, I don't want to say high, I want to say normal, but high compared to what we already saw.
Okay, and then with all that being said too, like inventory is like also like nowadays like kind of lower compared to. So would you? Because like I see, people like the concessions are there. Like if you can like negotiate it, you can get them. They're like a little bit tougher. I wouldn't say they're like free. Like you definitely get them. I've seen people get them, but like inventory low and stuff like that. What would you consider? Like, do you think we're like a sellers, a buyers? Are we like kind of in the mix of both? Is it like a gray area? What would you?
I think that we're definitely in a mix of both. I would say like November, December was definitely November, December. I don't know why I was just thinking we was still in December.
Time's moving fast.
Yeah, November, December, I would say we were definitely more so in a buyer's market. I was able to negotiate like 6% seller concessions with no hassle for one of my clients at that time. But now,
shout out to you.
Yeah, y'all. I'm just kidding. Not to toot my horn. But I would say now the sellers are biting back. Like the offer I submitted yesterday, that it got accepted. But I asked for if I wanted my 6% seller concessions. They was like, "Oh, we'll give you 3." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I won't be greedy. They will take it."
Do you always, like, is it a practice for you? Do you try to swing for like max concessions every single time, or?
The last few times, yes, I have been trying to get the full thing because, I mean, it don't hurt to ask. It's not going to affect you. So I'm like, well, we can get up to 6. That's what we're going to ask for. So, yeah, I wing it every time. It's like we going to ask for 6 and we going to, because, I mean, I feel like you're going to come back with something.
Right.
If I'm asking for them, that means I need them. So you're going to come back with something. So I take it.
Okay. No, I like that. And then, I mean, too, like you're representing the buyer, so it's not like obviously everyone wants a fair deal, but it's not like you're in the seller's best interest. You're doing what's best for your buyer. So if like 6% is it, then 6% is it. Are we trying to make something happen?
Right. And I will say it's like I'm not necessarily just asking for, well, one client I did just ask for him just because. But if you don't necessarily,
did you get him?
Yes. We don't necessarily, if you don't necessarily need them, I'm not just about to be like, oh, 6%. I'll ask for, if I'm just ask for something. But if you necessarily need them, yes, I'm going to ask for 6% for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then do you think, so that might have been from outside. I was going to say, so over time, because like on my end, like I don't really have to do like a ton of negotiation, right? Like sometimes like listing agent, sometimes the listing agent doesn't call me. I like calling them, but sometimes I don't hear from them until we're under contract. And structuring a deal, like negotiating, I'm sure it gets better like over time, but do you have, like I said, like clear cut way of going about it? Do you have like a system like you like to follow when you're like placing an offer? Like what's your kind of process?
My process is I always so we go by the purchase price. So what I do is I have to check the comps on the house, because if the house is 150, we now offering 190. So no, let me stop. No, but I do check the comps on the house to make sure that it will at least appraise for what they're asking for.
Okay.
And then from there, I do ask my client, like, okay, we're going to check the comps. I'll send them over to them. I'll tell them, like, okay, this address is the closest to what we're looking at right now. They'll say, okay. And then I'll ask them, okay, what are you comfortable with? And then they'll tell me what they're comfortable with. Or sometimes, most of the time, they ask me what I think. So I'll ask them what they're comfortable with. They ask me what I think. And it really just depends on the deal for what I think. Like, if I think that, okay, after we look at the comps, and then I look at how long it's been on the market, then I'll suggest like, oh, we should offer X, Y, and Z. Sometimes they go with it. Sometimes they be like, I'm gonna offer 1,000 less. I don't know what that is, but they do stuff like that. So, and then it also depends on what I'm asking for. If I'm asking for example, seller concessions, sometimes you can get away with asking for it and giving them, what they're, at least I feel like for selling concessions, you should at least offer, what the purchase price is. My bad. You should at least offer what the purchase price is. But also, like I said, it's really just depending on, how long it's been there. So that's how I determine that for seller concessions. Like, it depends on how long it's been sitting there, what the purchase price is. And sometimes for that, you might have to go a little bit over what they're asking. Or sometimes lately, I think it's actually I didn't go over on any of the ones I asked for seller concessions. It was one I did put in. I just put in at asking right now. But if I will put that in, and then they'll negotiate something else. Like, it was one that came back and was like, oh, we want 5,000 more if you want that. So if they're willing to do it, I kind of want to let them say it. But before I do that, I'm not just out here throwing out offers, asking for seller concessions. I'm definitely asking them, do they have any other offers on the table before I'm doing that? Because if I'm not asking and I'm asking for additional things that other people may not be asking for, like, I'm not servicing my client correctly. So I do ask them, like, oh, do you have any offers? And if they say, yeah, okay, well, what do your seller want to get seller concessions and things like that?
Do the listing agents ever, like, not want to give up the details, like the other offers they have? Do they just tell you, like, hey, come with your best or don't come at all? Or
I would say, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like a mixture. Like, it was a couple times where I called and it was like, I really can't tell you, which they can. But they're like, I really can't tell you, but then they'll suggest something. So, yes and no. Most people, I feel like they will tell me, like, oh, I do have an offer. Like, it was one offer I put in, and I think we had came in at the same amount with another offer, and it was like, oh, well, you're 75 conventional, and the other one was like 75. It
was like FHA? Or?
No, I'm sorry. They both were 75 conventional, but ours was appraisal guarantee. Ours was contingent upon the appraisal. So we basically was like, okay, well, of course I asked my client, but we offered them $3,000 more, still with the appraisal. And the appraisal actually came in higher than what the house came for, which we do not disclose on our end.
So they got some equity walking in then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, that's exciting. I feel like that's never, for the buyer, that's never a bad thing. Like, you never know when you're going to need that type of equity or anything.
But y'all, as buyers, don't ever tell the other side what the appraisal came in unless it's lower.
You just like saying, like, came back at value?
Yeah, I'll say came back at value.
Okay. I feel like that's just a game.
Yeah, because, you don't want them to come back and be like, oh, it's worth this, then give me that. Nope, we coming in at value.
Right, because I was going to say, like, at that point, like, they might be combing through that contract looking for, like, any little way out.
Mm-hmm. And I think that somebody just asked me for our appraisal for the deal that I have in motion right now. They were like, can you send me a copy of the appraisal? And and I was like, oh, my client doesn't want to release it. But we came in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, no.
Are you opposed, like, if the seller or the buyer is cool with it, obviously, are you guys, like, opposed to giving it, like, after the fact?
Why would they need it after the fact? It's not their house anymore.
That's true. Because, like, sometimes, like, if they're, like, let's say the seller's, like, doing flips,
mm-hmm.
and they're just wanting to, like, hey, like, am I hitting the ballpark, like, with these, like, comps, stuff like that? Am I, like, do I know what I'm doing?
Well, I never experienced that before, but I don't think that has really anything to do with me at that point. So
okay.
I think that that's more so like seller and client. Like, I think that you get each other's number at closing. So I feel like if they did want to do that after the fact, that's on them. But okay. I haven't had that experience before.
Okay, that's fine. So Are you allowed to like walk me through like any of your deals? Like, are you able to talk about them? Like ones that have closed, like not ones that are like working on. Like, do you have any like ones that are like memorable or like kind of like stuck out to you? If it's no, that's fine too.
I had some deals that stuck out to me, but I don't know. I kind of want you to ask me some questions. Maybe I could do it that way because it might be easier for me. Because I feel like every deal was kind of special in a different way. It was, I would say like the easiest deal I had was my second deal. It was like a walk in the park, honestly.
How so? Just like everything went right?
Everything just went right. We didn't have any problems. It was okay. We met up. We got the offer accepted. Earnest money deposit. She did waive her inspection. Waived the inspection. Appraisal. Closing. No, she wasn't calling me. I mean, not that you can't call me, but like she wasn't, like it's kind of a precious thing to go through, like buying a house. So she wasn't like frantic. That was probably like the easiest one. She still calls me sometimes, but
locked in.
But I don't know. I feel like you should ask me questions.
Okay. Well, what about like tougher ones? Like, have you run a situation where like the appraisal came back lower, and like now you gotta figure out, hey, like, is this deal gonna fall apart? Are we just renegotiating? Like how going about that?
I had my last deal I just closed. The appraisal came back a little lower. It was $150,000 house. We put in an offer for $150, but we needed seller concessions, and they asked her $155. So it appraised at $150. So yeah, we had to come back and renegotiate. And I will say that was a learning experience for me because I thought I had put in, I tried to put it like an appraisal contingency in my offer, and I put in appraisal guarantee because that's what a lender told me, like, make sure you put appraisal guarantee.
It's not me.
It was not him, thank God. But they was like, make sure you put in appraisal guarantee. And I was like, okay, I'll do that just to make sure that I'm thinking, that this is the best interest at heart for my client. So when that appraisal came back late, I was like, okay, well, y'all only getting $150. They was like, sweetie, you put in appraisal guarantee. So, this is like, I never expressed this to my client, but I felt like I had to fix it because what was I going to do? Like, I said appraisal guarantee, and then I Googled it after they came back at me. It was like, you said appraisal guarantee, because I'm thinking this means we can renegotiate, but when I Googled it, it was like, oh, this is the seller gets the upper hand and renegotiation regarding the appraisal. So I'm about to cry, y'all. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, basically it would be like my mess up or whatever. So I was like, okay. So I just came back and was like, my client needs the seller concessions. She can't do $155. What are we going to do? And y'all, mind you, we was like maybe a week from the closing table. So they asked me, like, so when is the potential closing date? So I'm like, oh, it's, XYZ. So I'm like, okay, this might give us some leverage. So they took like a couple days to respond. So I'm texting them. I'm like, hey, like, being nice. How are you? Hope you having a good weekend. How did your seller feel about the $150? So they were like, oh, they're still thinking. So then I was like, I had to get a little aggressive at this point. I was like, okay,
had to turn it up on.
Yeah, I was like, my client just wants to know what's going on. She really needs to move by the end of this month. I was like, she really needs to move by the end of this month. Like, what can we do? So that's when they was like, okay, we'll give you the $150, but they took down like $1,000 in seller concessions. So we still got our concessions, but y'all, that was an experience for me. I never write appraisal guarantee in my contracts again. Now I'm way more specific. Like, I'd be like, now in my offers, I'm like, if appraisal come back lower, my client gets to negotiate a lower purchase price. I'm very specific now because that one right there had my back against the wall.
It could have ended a lot differently.
Yeah,
definitely.
I could have lost that deal for my client, or she could have been coming out of pocket for a house that she really wanted. So I'm glad that I was able to clean. If you see this, she know who she is, and she see this. Look, I fixed it. Don't hate me. But
that's the most important thing.
But she never knew that. So
I was gonna say you got the house. Appraisal came back lower. You're able to renegotiate, save the deal, and you still got concessions and closed it. So you're doing your thing.
Yeah,
you showed out. So.
I'm having flashbacks.
So, kind of moving past that, then, what do you? I guess 11 months in now, coming up on the year. So then this is like your your first full year, as an agent. So, and then you've done like a couple deals, right? Like you've done like more than I feel like the average person in their first year. Because like the first year, there was like some study came out last year, first year agents. I think there's like 1.2 million new ones. 800K of them like didn't do a deal like the first year. I feel like that's kind of like the norm. Like a lot of people in their first year, they don't do like any deals, and you're knocking them out of the park. Whether easy, hard, you're still getting them done. So, kind of climbing that momentum of like your success for your first full year. Where do you kind of want to see yourself? Like at the end of this year, given like the market's still it's tough. On our end, we're hoping like interest rates start working their way back down towards the summer, better by the end of the year. So maybe we'll see more activity. But like for you personally, like what are your goals? Where do you want
to? Well, I have personal goals and goals for real estate. Right now, like I do have like 2 jobs. Well, real estate and another job. So that's one of my goals. I want to be, I consider myself full-time, y'all, because when I'm at work at my other job, I'm on my laptop, I'm texting, I'm sending all type of information, and then I get off work and I do my showing. So I consider myself a full-time realtor, but I really want to be without that other job too. So that's like one of my goals for sure is to be, I guess, really full time, but I feel like I'm full time.
And I mean, like you like you're still doing the work, like you said, like you're at work, but you're still handling business stuff like that. So you're still getting it done, and I feel like that's important too because sometimes like people have like 2 jobs, like they're doing their job and then they're a realtor as well. Like sometimes they like okay, like I can't do both like at the same time, So
I will say that it does get overwhelming, but it's some days where I will completely just stay to myself. I don't know. I feel like that's a good thing. But I do have some days where I'm just like, okay, I just don't want to be bothered. I will still text you back and do stuff for real estate, but I ain't doing nothing else that day. So I do still take time for myself. So back to the goals, I do want to be full-time real estate. I'm hoping that's by the end of this year. I actually want to get to more of the Oakland County area right now. Like, I feel like I've been in more so on the Wayne and Macomb, but I really want to be in Oakland. Like, I love West Bloomfield. I love Birmingham. I just love.
Who doesn't?
I just love Oakland County. To be honest, I live in Oakland County too. Don't try to find me, but
don't try to find me.
No, but I'm just kidding. But I do love Oakland County. Like, I just think that they have a lot of things that are aesthetically pleasing. And a lot of things that's rising over there. Even in Wayne County, I think that there are a lot of things rising, especially in the Black community. So that's more so where I want to cater to is, giving back and, kind of selling in the Oakland County area because I really like that part of Michigan. As far as like a monetary goal, I don't have like a monetary goal.
Just want to be out here doing it.
Yeah, I just really just want consistency for myself. Like, I want my deals to be double what I make at my regular job. So that way I can be just living my life because, I mean, honestly, the only reason I'm really at my other job is because I got to keep up with the things that I'm used to. I like to look nice. I like to travel. So, just growing in that aspect, I just want to be a full-time realtor, double the full.
Double the full, okay. So what are like some of the things you do as far as like marketing?
So I will go and look at I will look at the MLS and see like some houses that I think are nice, and I will like record like home tours and things like that. What else do? I try to post like what else? I try to like I have like this app I have that helps me to post like informational things for clients and real estate agents. It's called Agent Crate, and it's a subscription that I pay for. Like that's kind of the marketing I use. Honestly, I think that my best marketing tool is when I actually come on video and talk, because in which I'm trying to get better at. But sometimes, y'all, I'll be tired. But I think those are my best marketing videos, because I feel like that's when the most people reach out to me, when I actually come out and talk and people see that I'm a human being instead of just some girl that's trying to sell real estate like everybody else. So I think that when people actually see me and when I meet people in person, it's a different type of energy. I'm always smiling when I meet people. I even ask them how their day are going. Even if I met you the first time, I'll be like, how was your day? And things like that. So I think it's more, for me, marketing. I do like home tours. I try to keep up with my Agent Crate subscription for education. Sometimes here and there you might see me throw in a this or that, or do you like this type of kitchen or whatever. I'll try to throw things in like that. So, and I just kind of just stay on social media. One thing I am trying to get into is, I think it's called farming. It's when get like postcards sent out in a certain area, and then I also want to put flyers out in like my area where I reside.
Okay, cool. So for other agents who are, they're watching this or they're getting ready to like pass their tests and stuff like that, since you're 11 months in, do you have any advice for those like people who are like just starting out that can maybe help them hit the ground like running?
Yeah. Yeah, of course I have advice. One thing I will say, if you're already passed your exam and got your state test, the advice I would give you is make sure you go with the broker that you're comfortable with. Don't go with somebody because, they work with Keller Williams. Nothing against them, but, just don't go with somebody with a big name because it looks good. Like, it looks good, but, make sure you're going with somebody that's comfortable. Like, don't think of a dollar sign when you're getting into something that you actually want to do. And I think that where a lot of people, not even just in real estate, in general, they make a mistake. They look at the dollar sign. Like, no, look at where somebody values you as a human being. That's one thing I would say is, that's as far as like the brokerage. And don't get discouraged, especially if you don't see anything the first few months, especially in this market right now. Like, a lot of people, more than are not sitting, but a lot of realtors are a little slow right now. So don't let that discourage you if you're just starting out in this market. That's my second thing. Now, if you're trying to pass the test, be focused. You can tell people you can't come out for a minute. Study every single word in that book. I mean, you may not use everything in that book when you pass, but make sure you study everything in the book because that's what's on a test. As far as the state tests, they pay attention to trick questions because they will ask you a question that has two answers that are correct on that test. You have to choose the answer that's more right, if that makes sense to you. And just believe in yourself. Those are the things I would like to give the newer agents and people that are trying.
Oh, cool. And then one of the things you said, like, just like my 2 cents on it, it's like, obviously the market's tough. Like you said, like realtors, they're less busy, stuff like that. But, that's for one, kind of like the nature of our like industry. There's going to be like really good times, like for like mortgage side, when like refinance is more popular, like interest rates come down, more people are buying, people are refinancing homes. So there's like upswings and there's times like this where it's just tough, where it's,
right.
But I think.
And people are also always renting. So if you don't have a buyer, you got a renter for sure.
Right. Then, so for the people who are coming in new and it's like, hey, it's like tough right now, but they stick it out and make it until like the next good time, like when rates come down, things kind of like stabilize. Then if you can make it happen when it was tough, like imagine when it's, easier.
Right.
Like
it's just going to start coming to you naturally.
Definitely. You'll take off. So thank you for coming on. I want to start with that, but where can people find you?
You can find me. Say no, I'm a jokester, y'all. So, no, you can find me. My Instagram is at Breauna the Realtor. It's spelled differently, so it's Breauna. So at Breauna the Realtor on Instagram, at Breauna the Realtor on Facebook. My personal Facebook is Breauna ZB. Oh no, it's not. That's my personal Instagram. Don't follow me on there.
Don't follow me on there.
No, you can follow me on there because that's where you can see me as a human being. Like, I love traveling with my friends, going out to different restaurants and things like that. So I don't mind you following me on my personal Instagram. So Breauna ZB, if you want to see the human side of me and not just the business side of me. My Facebook is Breauna Z Browning. So, and then you can find me also at my brokerage at Four Houses Realty. You can find me in Birmingham. All the information is on my Instagram, including my email and my telephone number.
Perfect. Well, again, thanks for coming on. I'm sure you'll be back before the year's up, but in a year, I definitely want to have you back so we can just touch back on the goals that you set and see, like, hey, did we hit these? If so, how did that happen? If not, how did that happen?
What are your goals so that way when I come back, I can ask you some questions?
My goals, that's a great question. My goals towards the end of the year, I'd like to be above like 10 million in volume. I guess like 10 million volume. In my opinion, like I'm trying to do obviously as many like deals as possible. It's like obviously the goal, but I feel like to do 10 million, you have to have done like a certain amount of them. You know, you can't, you're not really hitting 10 million doing like 5-10 deals. So I'm trying to do the most I can. I'd like to have a name for the podcast.
Right.
By then.
Y'all should comment or subscribe because it's going on YouTube, right? Comment.
Yep, it's going on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it.
Okay, period. I'm trying to think of I just tried to think of a name, but I think that you guys should comment below. I mean, I'm over here talking like it's my podcast.
Take over.
But I think you guys should comment below what you guys think the podcast should be called. Shout out to Phil. He's a great mortgage banker. Or, I'm sorry, mortgage broker. Let me correct myself. So, where can we find you?
We can find me. So, we can find me on Instagram at Loan with Phil. But by the time this is uploaded, it might be changed to Life with Phil. The YouTube channel will also be called Life with Phil. If you're listening to this on Apple Music or Spotify, the podcast still don't have a name for it. One of the goals will have it, but those will be like the main spaces you can find me. Definitely, I'm also on TikTok, Loan with Phil currently. But again, by the time you see this, probably be Life with Phil.
I like that name.
Thank you. So I don't have an outro either. So that's it.
That's a wrap.